New tonight, Ukrainian drones struck one of Russia's largest oil refineries overnight. This is the latest in Ukraine's campaign to take out Russia's fuel infrastructure.
Ukrainian drones attacked Russia's Kirshi oil refinery in the northwest Leningrad region.
At about 1:47 hours deep inside Ukraine, a small team of drone operators waited for a final signal that would launch one of the most ambitious long-range strikes of the conflict. Their target was a major Russian oil refinery located far beyond the front line, a facility that supplied fuel for military convoys, civilian regions, and also industrial operations across a large stretch of western Russia. Analysts believed that by sunrise, the refinery would be burning so brightly that the smoke could be tracked from space. When the countdown reached zero, the first drones surged into the night sky, and in that moment, the operation revealed a hidden weakness inside Russia's layered air defense network, one that almost no one expected. At the very same time across Ukraine, dozens of hidden launch teams began activating their systems. Some were set up in forest clearings, others inside disguised trucks with fold-out launch rails, and a few even operated from rooftops that looked like normal industrial buildings. The exact locations didn't matter. What mattered was timing, because every drone had to launch at the perfect moment for the entire strike to work. So operators coordinated their speeds carefully. Drones that had to travel farther pushed faster, while those closer to the target slowed down. This way, all of them would arrive at almost the exact same moment and overwhelm the defenses. As this massive wave moved toward Russia, radar operators suddenly began picking up multiple contacts on their screens. Fighter pilots ran for their jets, and missile crews rushed to their stations. But something immediately felt off. The radar signatures didn't look like anything their systems were designed to handle. Russia's air defense doctrine was built to stop expensive bombers, cruise missiles, and high-value aircraft, not dozens of small, low-cost drones working together like a single coordinated machine. Even more confusing. They shifted into what analysts later described as a ladder formation, spreading themselves out across 3 different altitude layers. The highest group flew around 2,500 to 3,000 meters. They broadcast signals on known frequencies and carried radar reflectors that made them look much larger than they actually were. Their job was to draw the attention of long-range systems like the S-300 and S-400. The middle group held around 1,000 to 1,500 meters. Some carried real warheads. Others were just decoys meant to drain shorter-range missile systems. Meanwhile, the real strike drones flew extremely low, just 30 to 60 meters above the ground, using terrain shadows, trees, and buildings to hide from radar. No single missile system could handle all 3 layers at the same time. If Russia targeted the high-altitude drones, the low ones slipped through. If they focused low, the high ones flew deeper into Russian territory. MiG-31 interceptors scrambled and climbed rapidly. They immediately locked onto the large signatures from the decoys. But these jets were designed to track high-altitude bombers, not slow drones flying near treetop level, because Russian rules required visual confirmation before firing, and those lost seconds cost them. By the time pilots recognized the targets, the decoys had already pulled them upward, and the real strike drones were passing underneath. The drones stayed hidden by flying through forests, valleys, along power lines, behind buildings, and across patches of ground clutter. The landscape itself became a shield, breaking up radar reflections and confusing tracking systems. Ahead of the drones sat one of Russia's strongest defenses, an S-300 battery with the cheese grater radar. This radar is famous for rapidly hopping between frequencies, making jamming almost impossible. Under normal circumstances, the S-300 could easily stop a drone attack, but this night was different. Analysts studying the strike later found a single weakness. Every few seconds, the radar paused for just half a second to reset its frequency pattern. This pause was almost impossible to notice, but for a synchronized drone swarm following a precise flight path, half a second of blindness was enough. A decoy climbed into detection range, forcing the radar to lock onto it. As it did, the drone recorded the timing of the radar's resets. Moments before it was destroyed by a missile, it transmitted the timing to the rest of the swarm. The remaining drones immediately dropped to only 10 meters above the ground. When the next radar reset happened, the drones slipped through the blind spot. On Russian screens, the target simply disappeared into the background noise of the terrain. Seconds later, Russian electronic warfare units activated, trying to throw the drones off course. GPS spoofers rebroadcast false coordinates to confuse their navigation. For a drone relying only on GPS, this would have been fatal. But these drones were ready. They switched to backup systems, magnetic compasses, inertial sensors, terrain matching, and even counting major power line crossings as fixed waypoints that could not be faked. A few drones drifted off due to interference, but most stayed on the attack corridor leading toward the refinery. The refinery was heavily defended as several Panzer S-1 batteries formed a defensive ring around the facility. These systems quickly spotted the approaching drones and identified around 24 targets. But operators immediately faced a difficult problem. Panzers could track many targets, but could only shoot a few at a time. Every time a missile launched, the system couldn't track new threats for several seconds. This delay gave the low-flying strike drones exactly what they needed. Missiles flew toward mid-altitude drones, but the real strike drones accelerated at ground level, weaving through obstacles and staying below the radar's strong detection zone. When Panzers switched to their 30mm guns, another issue appeared. The guns couldn't point low enough to hit drones flying very close to the ground without risking damage to nearby buildings. Ukrainian planners had designed the attack path specifically to take advantage of this weakness. By this stage, the defenders were overwhelmed. They were facing a carefully layered, coordinated attack while operators struggled to decide which contacts were real threats and which were distractions. Near the main entrance of the refinery, Russia had deployed a new 57mm autocannon system designed for drone swarms. It used programmable ammunition that exploded in midair, creating spheres of tungsten shrapnel timed to detonate at exact distances. Under testing, it was extremely effective, while under real combat conditions, it faced limitations. As the system fired, its safety protocols activated. The gun was forbidden from firing at drones below a certain height because the shrapnel could hit sensitive refinery structures and cause massive damage. When 2 drones dropped below that height, the system froze, unable to fire. The lead strike drone slipped through without interference. Inside the refinery, night shift workers heard a strange buzzing sound moments before the first explosion. The drone hit a critical junction where multiple pipelines met. Pressure lines burst instantly. Superheated oil vapor shot into the air and ignited in a bright flash. A second drone struck near a storage tank, breaking a weakened seal and causing another explosion. A huge fireball lit up the sky. Pressure waves moved through the complex, damaging valves, cooling systems, and backup pumps. A processing tower reportedly split at its weld seams, throwing debris across the refinery. Automatic safety systems activated, but most of them were already damaged by the shock waves. Fire suppression systems triggered, but water lines had lost pressure, making them nearly useless. Flames climbed high into the sky, and thick black smoke rose quickly, visible on satellite images soon after. Emergency crews tried to approach, but the heat forced them to fall back. They could only try to keep the fire from spreading to more storage tanks. Soon after the strike, Russian officials said all the drones had been intercepted, but the damage on the ground told a different story. Analysts discussed the attack for days, trying to understand how it happened. The strike showed a clear imbalance in how defending against Ukraine's drones requires expensive missiles, advanced radars, and quick decisions, but attacking only requires creativity, planning, and low-cost technology. Many experts now believe drone swarms like this will shape the future of warfare. And as analysts pointed out, this strike may only be the beginning. This strike showed how LEW-cost adaptive drones can challenge even densely layered defensive networks and expose flaws in systems built for a different generation of threats. It raises a larger question that every military planner is now forced to confront. If drones can travel this far and cause this much disruption, what target is truly out of reach? More updates will follow as the conflict continues to evolve, but one thing is clear. The battlefield is changing faster than many expected, and both sides are racing to adapt. Stay informed because the next development may shift the balance yet again. Stay informed because the next development may shift the balance yet again.